I thought that the first part of this act was my favorite, actually. Like, before the entire battle happens at the end, and even some of the little tidbits of the spaceship. And it's mainly the first part because that's where a lot of the character driven moments are happening. It's where everyone decides on their resolutions, it's where people get their closures. We pick off the previous act, and Columbina is still stuck in the space-time dimension area. She feels like she's been walking over there for a long time, and then, oh, look and behold, out of nowhere, who does she see? Oh, it's Rerir, the last guy that went into the moon gate from the previous acts. And Rerir has a much different demeanor than last time because he was really pissed off and angry with abyssal energy when we pushed him into the moon gate. But now here, it seems like he's lost all of that. He's not interested in fighting anymore. There's no more rage inside his head, because he's like rejected some of the shadow of the abyssal powers that were in the space. And because he rejected that, now all of the voices in his head has all disappeared. And so he can think more clearly. He feels things like remorse. He feels guilt over the actions that he's done and having to hurt a lot of people in order to try to get what he wants. So this is essentially like the story trying to redeem him. And he does see the shadow of Tholindis early on, but he can't move from the space. He's completely stuck here. So he asks Columbina, hey, if I remove some of this abyssal power away from this area, could you send a message to Tholindis? And then it becomes a place to wrap up his own character resolution. You know, Columbina at first was very suspicious of him, but then upon seeing him, she has a better understanding. Columbina has always been able to sense the emotions of people pretty well, so she understands that Rerir is being very genuine here. And so she agrees to go find Tholindis and give Rerir one last message. I find it funny that Rerir is like, okay, thank you, Moon Goddess, but make sure to not die. Which is really funny considering what happens later on when Columbina decides to die. So that was kind of funny. I don't know if the writing there was intentional, but so Columbina, as she moves further on, she does see Tholindis, who's a shadow of the real Tholindis, because the physical Tholindis has already died the moment she entered the moon gate. And so this is her remaining soul. So Columbina tells Tholindis about all of Rerir's regrets for his mistakes. She cries over this because she still wants to see him for one last time. Like, all of the things that Tholindis was doing was to be with Rerir, to make him happy. But unfortunately, as Rerir says, their relationship was built on lies, and love needs honesty. I thought that was a very powerful quote. Tholindis thanks Columbina for delivering this message from Rerir to her before giving her some more information about how maybe if she continues going onto this path, she can change the past. And this right here, this was the end of the story of Rerir and Tholindis. It's very bittersweet. I like that they don't actually get to interact with each other. They've both done pretty bad things in the past. I think that it's fine that we leave them in a melancholy final closure state, where even though they don't get to be with each other one last time, maybe in a distant future, their souls will eventually meet, right? But for now, their story concludes. The good thing is that both of them realize their mistakes, and if they were to continue living, that they would go forward knowing to correct and atone for their sins. So I thought it was a good way of wrapping up their story. I kind of wished that Rerir had interacted more with Columbina in order to get into the state of mind, the peaceful state of mind that he was in, instead of just we meet him and he goes, oh, hey, I don't have the crazy voices in my head. A tragic, bittersweet ending, but I thought it was a very solid ending nonetheless. Columbina continues going back into the past, and she's greeted eventually, finally, by a fellow moon goddess. These are the original moon goddesses, Sonnet, Karen, and Arya. And so they're trapped in the past here because they were brought here by being punished by Nibelung when Nibelung came back to start the War of Funerary Flame. They do give us some lore about how the Heavenly Principles was very nice to the three moon goddesses at first, but then ever since Nibelung came back, the Heavenly Principles interpreted the moon goddesses as being hostile, and so just didn't really like them anymore. The moon goddesses really just got the worst of both worlds. They got punished by both the Heavenly Principles as well as Nibelung. The main character conflict between the Moon Sisters is that they regret being a spectator when the war was happening. They regret not taking action for other people, for the people that they care about. So the core conflict that is holding the moon goddesses together here from a character inner conflict perspective is that they have regrets over not helping in the War of Funerary Flame, helping people that were being hurt, helping the planet that was being destroyed. They took inaction when they felt that because they have power as three goddesses that they should have taken action. And that's part of why Columbina is able to convince them to help Columbina. Because in the future, there are people living in peace, which makes the moon goddesses happy to hear, but then there are people that are still in danger, namely Columbina's friends and an entire nation of not Krai. So this is how she gets the moon goddesses to agree to give her the 3 lunar authorities. She decides to open a plan to die in the current moment, but then leave energy of Kuvaki and drive that into the future, and hopefully her friends will be able to reunite with them and to resurrect or revive Columbina. So this is where everyone comes and figures out exactly what the plan is, because with the Luonotar, the one that Columbina put a little bit of her soul into, Nefer is able to look into her past and see exactly what Columbina's plan is. So now everyone knows, and it's up to Wanderer and Sandrone. They're the ones that come into clutch here, because Sandrone has a formula that she wants to complete that can connect everyone back to Columbina. But there's so much processing power that she just can't figure out an answer until Wanderer decides that, wait, use my core as computational power to figure out your equation, whatever it is. I think it shows two sides. It shows that Sandrone is willing to get help, even though she's always been focused on her own research. And it also shows a side of Wanderer that, even though he gave up on his revenge for personally defeating dottore, he's also feeling that it's okay, that it's risky to use his computational core because he could die immediately if things go wrong. But as he says, he was destined to die anyways. So, whatever happens, happens. So it's his conviction that lets him do this. I like these character moments. Right, so as a summary, Columbina is able to help the 3 moon goddesses move on, have their souls move on, because of the reassurance that the world will be a better place in the future. So they don't have to keep regretting over their inaction. They can take action now and help Columbina preserve and make a better world in the future. There's also the theme of home that comes up again, with how Columbina is convinced that, hey, you should really open your eyes and see not just the bad things of the world, because that's why Columbina decided to close her eyes. It's because she was faced with so many lies that she got tired of seeing them. So she's been keeping her eyes closed the entire time. But the sisters, as Columbina helps them, and they also help Columbina with how, hey, even though there are so many lies in the world, because you're closing your eyes, you're missing out on all of the genuine and the sincere moments in the present as well. Consider opening your eyes and taking in everything, the good and the bad. Like, you were born on Tevat, you were born in Nod Krai. So kind of by default, it is a home you can consider. Yeah, pretty much we do all the preparations to confront dottore. We evacuate all of the civilians. Varka asks the Hexenzirkel to help do a favor for him, to help Nod Krai. So anyways, this is the battle. We fight dottore. He confronts us, and we're like, all right, let's take you head on. And we're going to try to stall to get Sandrone's equation to full completion. So that's the premise of this battle. We need to stall for enough time for Sandrone to complete the equation that'll help us reconnect back to Columbina. I'm not exactly sure why he tore open the false sky, just to show the frost moon, because it ends up helping us, because we want to bring the frost moon down anyways. He does say that this is his final experiment, so it's an experiment. Keep that in mind for the ending of the fight. So initially we have Traveler, Flins, Lalma, and Nefer attacking dottore, but then dottore is able to isolate everyone except the Traveler, so then Sandrone needs to help and join the fray, and she puts herself at risk because supposedly the equation is inside of her. Dottore takes note of this and pretty much destroys Polonia, like rip Polonia. That was... Hey, Polonia's my G. Sandrone and Polonia, they're my G. So I was sad to see them both go down here. But hey, it is what it is. And of course, I have the highest copium. Like, I know, like, oh, Sandrone was stabbed by dottore and pretty much killed. But no, I trust in the Sandrone revival. She's fine. She's just taking a nap. It's okay. Everyone calm down. Calm down. Sandrone is okay. Yeah, I'm coping really hard. But I'm sure she'll become a playable character. Trust, trust, trust. So unfortunately for dottore, even though he kills Sandrone, the equation was actually inside Polonia this entire time. And because dottore had opened the false sky and the frost moon is available, then Varka, Arlecchino, and Nicole, they're able to triangulate with each other and help bring down the moon, bring down the frost moon. Just as the moon enters Tevat, Sandrone's formula completes. And this is what brings the connection between Krai, Columbina, and us. And there she is, the trilunar goddess Columbina, who I think is probably the most strongest character in Tevat at the moment. She brings back everyone from Dottore's isolation, and we pretty much defeat dottore. We get the iridescent moon marrow back for Arlecchino, the eternal moon marrow back as well. And then dottore, with only his artificial moon marrow, is no match for Columbina, who has all 3 of the moon goddess authorities. So literally, I'm pretty sure she's the strongest character in Tevat at the moment. And we vaporize, we eliminate, we make dottore disappear. And is he dead? Oh, supposedly, but of course at the ending scene we get a little glitchy effect going on, so probably he's alive. And a simple reason for why dottore is still alive and hanging in there somewhere, and this was all part of his experiment, is that we haven't defeated dottore from an ideological perspective, right? It's dottore's ideals that we haven't brought down yet, and that's very important for taking down a character. If they don't exactly like regret any actions they make or have any changes or challenges to their ideology, then it's not really a defeat per se. So, of course, he'll be back. I'm sure he'll be back in Snezhnaya. I'm sure that, maybe even the Tsaritsa could still have a use for him, or he'll be back. He'll be back. And so we pretty much enter the resolution of the end of Krai. So everyone's celebrating. There's a new faction, a universal faction that Krai is trying to enact, with getting different people, different leaders from the different factions in Krai to have a unification. I want to talk about Varka a little bit at the end. So Varka, I felt that Varka was very, very, very underutilized in this Archon quest. He didn't really do much, and okay, he helped bring down the moon at the end, but still, we introduced him in quite a good way, only to end up having him being defeated and injured and sidelined for most of things. He's been hyped up as the big Grandmaster that Child's been always wanting to fight, but yeah, I was a little disappointed. I was quite disappointed that Varka wasn't used more narratively. Really, it can tie back into the reason of we have too many playable characters in the story with only 1 or 2 antagonists, so it's difficult. But alas, I mean, his banner's coming up. I hope he has a cool story, but my stocks are not very high for Varka at the moment. One note that Nicole gives us is that at the world's borders, when dottore had initiated some kind of bad thing at the borders, a consequence is that Tevat is now easier to detect from the outside universe, which I think is interesting because this could introduce more outside forces into Tevat. Maybe we'll get more descenders into Tevat now that Tevat's easier to detect. So that was quite the interesting revelation. I think maybe the story wants to head there as we finish the Snezhnaya chapter into Khaenri'ah. And since Genshin wants to be, last 20 plus years, then all right, this is them introducing the ideas of introducing more external forces into Tevat. Arlecchino and Wanderer, they're chilling at the docks before returning to Fontaine and Sumeru, respectively. So Arlecchino, she has Sandrone's core, basically, and is gonna give it back to the Fontaine Research Institute. So that's literally the token of Sandrone is alive, she'll be back, she'll be revived, she'll probably get a new design, and I hope they bring back Polonia, but Polonia is probably gonna get a new design too. Yeah, so she still has a will, and yeah, I'm sure she'll come back. It's fine. It's all good. It's all good. It seems like the story is placing every blame on dottore because the Tsaritsa has revoked the Pale Star Edict, revoked Columbina's arrest warrant, and the reasons are because, this was all dottore's plot. So we're putting all of the blame onto dottore, and I kind of wish that the Tsaritsa maintained some of, her authority onto those decisions, but we'll see in a year, because we'll be getting Snezhnaya next year. Wanderer also foreshadows that likely dottore is alive because he says, I think I still have a chip on my shoulder. It's an irky kind of feeling. So yeah, dottore is alive. And finally, we wrap up the Archon quest with Columbina bringing back the Traveler to their spaceship, which is on the Frost Moon. So we open a moon gate, get some nice summary of the events that happened in Krai and Columbina's relationships to them, and we arrive on the Frost Moon, which is super cool, seeing Tevat, the planet itself, just from outer space. I think that This spaceship lore is kind of cool. So the main thing is that the logs, they don't say the most interesting things, but it does say that, hey, so the spaceship did fly over Tevat a few thousands of years ago, but didn't enter until around the 500-year timeline. So the question is, oh, why did that happen? Why did they circle around Tevat? And that's basically it, except we do get a new outfit for the Traveler, and it has a lot of lore on it. I think it's already sprung up a bunch of new theories about how, because the spaceship has an AI, and that spaceship AI could be the Heavenly Principles, could be related to Paimon in some ways. So there are a lot of videos out there and theories and threads and stuff. I think for me, as long as they try to acknowledge it in the main story and bring that up somehow, then cool, sounds good to me. If we want to start actually talking about the origins of Paimon and her role into the story, great, sounds good. Let's do it soon, sooner rather than later. And yeah, that brings us to the end of this Archon quest. I think overall, yeah, Krai was pretty good. The main thing being a lack of tension for the most part, but I enjoyed myself playing through the Archon quests the entire time for the most part. So yeah, pretty good. Yeah, I mean, Snezhnaya is next, so let's go to Snezhnaya. All right, let's see what the Sarditsa's plan is all about. Let's see what this plan that's been foreshadowed for 6 years with Zhongli contract with Sarditsa, Venti. Sarditsa doesn't want to talk to Venti, and let's just see. I'm looking forward to it. So cool. Thank you for watching this video as always, and till next time, take care. Oh, she gained crit rate.